would like to invite Ivana Volf from Serbian Association of Youth Workers to tell us a little bit more about how the association tried to educate youth workers using online courses. Huh?
Let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Marco. I hope the presentation will work with this. Thank you to Hajdeda for inviting me. So far it was really, really inspiring what I've heard from other presentations and got me thinking about some things that we do. My name is Ivana and I work as a program coordinator in National Association of Youth Workers. In English it's like that, but in Serbian the acronym for our organization is NAPOR. And NAPOR, for some of you that are not familiar with Serbian, Bosnian, Croatian, means effort in English. And as it usually is, when you give a name to something, it actually predicts your future. So it turned out that all of the things that we wanted to achieve on the national level concerning youth work are a big effort. And we call it processes. That's our keyword, one of them. And also, in that sense, the online learning and our idea to introduce it into education of youth workers was also a process and also an effort for us, and it's still ongoing. So a little bit about us. We were established in 2009, and we are actually an association of organizations, NGOs, who are doing youth work on the local level. And our mission is actually to promote youth work, to advocate for vocation of youth work, for better recognition of a vocation that is still not recognized in Serbia, and also to go towards some kind of professionalization and professionalism in youth work. And this is what I do. So we provide capacity building for youth workers and also recognition of competencies gained through experience and so on, so people can, if they're already working in the field, achieve the certificates that we give to youth leaders and youth workers. And our mission or vision is for every young person in Serbia and wider to have their own youth worker, because we really believe in youth work and importance of it. So how we came up with online learning. We have a multi-module training for youth leaders and youth workers. It is based on curricula that we developed. And we have a mechanism, that's another word that we like to use, on how to implement that curriculum. Multi-modular training means that we have, as the name says, 4 or 5 modules of thematic, small trainings that go on for months. And we used to do them in a traditional way. The non-formal education is done, so we collected a group and we do the training. What we realized in the process that we cannot manage all of the content that we want to achieve during those modules for youth workers and youth leaders. And we decided to not shrink and be less ambitious, because we are quite ambitious with all the topics and all the learning goals that we want for youth workers to have after this education. But we wanted to somehow make it possible to achieve everything. And our idea is to introduce also online modules as a part of the education program. So our main reason was money, because no donator wanted to give us as much money as we need for that really ambitious program that also includes practical work of our participants. So this is really a big thing. And also it, on the other hand, was time, because online learning provided us the possibility to have less time spent with direct work with the group in the residential course, but more time devoted to online learning, which is more flexible, and then also participants had the opportunity to learn some things from home. And we hoped that also it will be a less, let's say, demanding work for trainers who do it. We realized it's not the case, but we'll come to that. So this is basically what we call a blended learning, and we introduced it in 2014. So far, we had some experience with that and also some learning points that I will try to also transfer to you. We decided to use Moodle. Why Moodle? Because some of us already had some experience with Moodle, and I understood that you also in this project used it, so I'm really eager to hear your experiences. And we liked that it is free, because we are NGO and we don't have money to pay for tailor-made platforms or for anything that is really expensive. And it's open source, and it's for us seemed quite adaptable to our needs. So in Moodle, you can make your own platform, you can manage it the way you want, you can make it look like you want it to look, you have many activities that you can add and choose from. Yeah?
Can I ask you
Yes?
something? Just,
Sure.
in order to be precise. Moodle itself is free of charge, but in order to have, let's say, 20 students, Moodle itself is free of charge, but if you don't have, let's say, your private server or something like that, if you have a course of 20 people, you have to host them virtually something. So if you don't have a server, you have to pay for somebody who has a server, right? So it's less expensive. Moodle itself, like software, is free, but the hardware, well, has to be paid. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's not totally free. We are not hosting it on a cloud. We have a server, but because Napor already had our website and also some other applications that we use in our work hosted on a certain server, it was easier for us, and in Serbia it's not so expensive. So you'll see we host it on a server in like where we host everything, and the domain is like extension of our website, so it's like easier for us to use. So yeah, the idea was that it is free, and another thing is that we somehow saw in Moodle in a way a possibility to implement kind of a non-formal education methodology in online learning, and yeah, we are still using it. So we started, as I said, with setting up the platform. There is not very visible how it looks like, but you can find it, search it on this link. There is there, and also at the beginning it didn't look like this. It looked quite basic, so it was also the process of us learning how to make it more, let's say, user-friendly, according to some feedbacks that we received from participants and so on. So they wanted it to look more like nowadays websites, to be also responsive to other devices and so on. So we actually developed it throughout the years. And after setting the platform, we realized that actually we have like in this, the way that we do the training for youth leaders and youth workers is that we actually ask our member organizations who have a lot of experience in youth work and who usually have experienced people who are long time in youth work and also have really huge experience in training, in non-formal education, in like transferring the knowledge to other youth workers. And this huge experience didn't really include competencies for online learning or creating content online. So we decided to make first the course for trainers or youth workers who will then do the courses as a part of this, this training program that we do. And after that, in the training course, we actually discussed a lot about what are the possibilities in non-formal education for online learning and how we can do it and what are the limits. And also it was a lot of cases of breaking some prejudices and resistance from youth workers who are not, we really believe in face-to-face contact, in talking to young people, in group work, in processes, and so on. So it was really difficult to sometimes to understand what are the advantages of online learning. And we also had a crash course on Moodle, so how to really technically support that. And first online modules were done through one generation, one cycle of training for youth leaders. And I need to say that these were usually young people, and we had this presumption that those young people are digital natives, that they will find their way around Moodle and that they will be really happy to learn online. It wasn't always the case, and it was what my experience showed, that digital natives are not, it doesn't need that they're really technically advanced sometimes, and that also they need guidance in where to find information and how to use certain tools. So after this first generation, some of the things that we learned is that we still need more capacity building for our youth workers to actually deliver courses. And this was in the sense that usually they would use Moodle as, sometimes they would use Moodle as the teachers in formal education do. So they would give them tasks, write essays, or ask them questions, and then they will do it. And they would give individual feedback, but they weren't really making interaction in the courses. They weren't creative enough to use the methods available in Moodle and also outside of Moodle to create this environment where people will support each other's learning, learn from the group, be interactive, creative, and so on, and produce also something more than an essay. So we wanted to do more on that. And another thing is like our wild imagination that we would need also some more tools, probably integratable on Moodle, but also elsewhere, to actually promote this non-formal education technology, methodology into online world. So we realized that a lot of things online, if they are structured, if they are learning management systems, kind of reminds us on formal education. And what we wanted is to have something that will support experiential learning as much as it is possible in the online world. And we are working currently on that. And also in the process, when we established the platform, some other of our activities were happening. And then we realized, okay, now we have this platform, what can we use it for? And then we started thinking about some kinds of support to youth workers, opening forums, having like these group discussions and things like that. And this is also something that we are currently thinking about, on how to set up some systems of support, mentorship, even supervision, using the platform or using online tools. Because what we encountered also on our other activities is that youth workers don't have time. They don't have time anymore to come to 3 days training courses and so on. But they need more support and they need more interaction between each other. Facebook is great, but it's not always available. I mean, not everybody uses it in the same way for professional, let's say, development. So we wanted to offer something more. And we also, realized that also further capacity building can be done through some online courses. So not just these basic courses that we do for youth leaders and youth workers, but also to our member organizations in a way, especially for the ones who are not very able to come and participate in like direct work, residential trainings, and so on. So what we are doing actually right now is a project also financed by Erasmus+. And in this project we actually found some partners who had similar needs and similar problems as we do. Some of them are using also Moodle, some of them not. Some of them are doing precisely training courses and education of youth workers on international, national level, and so on. Some of them are still trying to do it, and they found this project as a possibility to actually introduce it in their work. And some of them are quite good in using digital tools and internet, but not so much, not in the same way as we do. So we found a mix, and we developed the project where we had, again, a training for online learning in non-formal education. And after that, the participants also developed courses that were usually done on a national level, according to the needs of the youth workers there. And our target group also for the courses were youth workers. So it was not meant for young people, but really for capacity buildings on competencies of youth workers in the countries of the project. And then we also have now ongoing activity of creating some new tools for online learning. I just came back from Slovenia where we had a seminar on that. We developed some ideas that were based mostly on our experience with online learning. So we said, okay, let's see what is missing and what we need in terms of changing Moodle or in terms of finding some other ways to create new tools. And we are going to continue to do that as each partner in the project. In Serbia, we are also planning to do a hackathon on online learning at the end of this year and so on. So this is also something that, that is new and exciting for us. And so this is so far our experience. What we concluded is that there are some potentials of online learning for youth workers. It is still, for us, saving money and time because we have really a lot of activities. You all know that funding is less and less, and this provides opportunity for us to also go out there and include more youth workers into capacity building. So in this sense, we have a bigger reach. We had now cases in Serbia of people who are volunteering as youth workers but actually have a job somewhere else, and they are really unable to come to training courses or even conferences sometimes, especially if they are on working days. So online courses were really like something that they needed. And also these things that we want to develop in terms of further support and interaction with other youth workers is also beneficial, especially to those people who probably are living in a small communities where they are the only youth worker there and the only organization there, and they actually don't have many opportunities to learn from other youth workers. So this is the way for them to be included more into the processes that we do. We also realized that through online learning we are building somehow also digital competence of youth workers. I said at the beginning there were some resistance to that, but then also we all know that young people are online, so we need to be more online, and we need to know how we learn online in order to somehow motivate them and direct them into how they should use internet in learning. And another potential is that it's self-paced and self-directed, so people can actually do it in their own free time, but as you will see, that is also a challenge. So challenges and dilemmas. One, and it's going on through like since 2014 for us, can we really put non-formal education online, and can it really be like enough? And of course it's not, and of course it's not for all the topics, but we are still exploring what are the topics and what are the parts of the education for youth workers that can be done online. We now, at the moment, have one online course. It's fully online, so no like physical contact among people, that is dealing with ethics in youth work and developing critical thinking of youth, of like how youth workers should do and what should they do to develop critical thinking of young people. And this is for me like the challenge. We will see how it will go on, because this is the topic that we at the beginning didn't think that could be done online, because this is something that requires a lot of discussion. It also is emotional, it's not just cognitive, so this is really a challenge. But previous course was, for example, on project cycle management, which is something that could be done online, and we did it before. Sexy PCM, true. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was only open for NAPOR member organizations, but yeah, we will try to do it also on another level. Another challenge is motivation of learners. In those courses that I mentioned, and I also heard on the breaks that you had similar problems, we had a lot of people dropping out. And it is either because they are not motivated enough, or we are thinking also that our ideas of online courses are maybe too, again, ambitious, because our trainers got really into it and they, you know, created so many tasks and contents, and every week they have something, so it's really challenging for somebody to keep up at the pace with all the deadlines and stuff. So this is something also to rethink and to see how much content we can actually and in real time deliver online, and what to expect from people. But this is also a challenge of trying to have interaction. So if you want to have interaction, if you want people to stay there, you need to like communicate with them all the time and to ask them questions, and then they need to answer, and that takes also time for them. Another thing regarding motivation maybe is this self-directed learning that is really important, and we really promote it in non-formal education. But online it doesn't always work. So people are not sometimes ready to be, let's say, responsible enough that if they are enrolled in the course, they finish it until the end. And because you don't see them, it's easier to drop out and they pretend nothing happened. But also we had experience, and that's also something I'm now thinking about, because we announced the online course. It will last like 6 weeks. It starts on the certain date. But then people come 2 weeks later and say, oh, can I join now? And they probably had different experience with online learning and having a course. So for us, it was important to have the group, and that the group learns together, and to have some peer-to-peer learning and so on. So it was not possible to like come at the middle of the course. But this is something that we also need to inform people about before, and to like let them know what online course means for us. There is still some resistance to online learning, and people still believe that youth work cannot be done online, and that education, non-formal education, should be done in person. But we'll see what is possible and what not. And the last thing is that I still feel that it might be Moodle that is not always user-friendly as it could be, as some other tools are. But still, I feel that digital competencies of youth workers are something that should be worked on, and that should be built in the future, in order to actually like have more quality courses and more quality education online for them. So thank you, and questions.
Thank you. This is a very interesting presentation, and I'm very happy that you touched upon a lot of challenges and dilemmas because, yeah, it's very cool that we have this opportunity. We call it an opportunity, being able to deliver online learning and use non-formal education in the online space. But me personally, as both a consumer of online courses and a deliverer or involved in delivering online courses, I see it both as opportunity and challenge. And then regarding these challenges, because this is something that we really have to address, one of the things that was just now going through my mind while you were presenting is how we can actually make the trainers or those who deliver these courses understand, first of all, how it's different from the physical space, and then working face-to-face with the people. And then one solution that I could personally propose is maybe having those trainers attend courses themselves, online courses. Right now I'm part of this online course, 2 online courses that are delivered by the Council of Europe, and I totally trust that the people that are involved in delivering them have brainstormed a lot on how they can make it as interactive and interesting as possible. And yet, if I talk to my colleagues, most likely we will say, damn, but this is such a, like, not bother, but it puts so much extra work on us to have to communicate and interact in the online space. So even us who do it normally in our organizations realize that people would always prefer face-to-face meetings rather than doing it in the online virtual space. But then again, we also identify what are the good points, because obviously when there's no financial possibility to travel somewhere and to meet face-to-face, we would still applaud and be happy that this opportunity exists. So one thing that I think is good for the trainers themselves to understand how they can adapt and how they can make it as interactive as possible is go themselves through online courses, and then you yourself see what works and what doesn't work on these people. For example, people lose attention after reading a 2-minute text, but if you do it text, image, or exercise a bit of text, maybe this will work better. So learning by doing could also be a good point for on how to encourage trainers to fight this aversion towards online learning. And another thing that I was thinking about is, maybe you can shed some more light on it. Do you have any mechanisms of evaluation? Because you said that there were already some cycles of online courses that you did. Did you try to measure in a way the impact and see what are the actual outcomes of those courses? Besides the numbers, we had that many people attend the course, but how is it different in terms of, compared to attending a physical course? What were the elements that the learners themselves liked the most after attending them? Thank you.
Well, for the second question, as our first experience with online learning was not only online course, it was blended learning. So we evaluated the whole program. And I have to say that in that case, because it was like the whole program for education of youth leaders, it was a bit different because they are somehow obliged to follow through all the whole program in order to get the certificate at the end. So they have an end game. So like it's not the same as when you deliver a course for youth workers and then at the end they just gain knowledge or they just gain some competencies. In this case, it was really clear. But what because I was following the whole cycle and like talking to the participants, for some of them it was like an extra work, but for some of them who were probably like, we had one participant who was really the youngest in the group and very shy, and he didn't feel that he has anything valuable to share in the group, like when we were meeting. But then online he was really shining in a way, so he would like share some videos on communication, and you see that he is really thinking the things through. You cannot see it in the group unless he's speaking, and he's not speaking. So online, he was probably feeling more comfortable to share. So in these cases, online learning can also be more beneficial to some people. We always somehow think that we all prefer offline and we all prefer to meet with people, but some introvert people probably are not so keen on sharing in a big group. So this is also something to take in mind. These courses that we have now that are done only online, so without any kind of residential courses that follows them or like contact with a group. We will have the evaluation soon, so one is just finishing and the other is still going on. And we actually want to see what is from the perspective of trainers and from the perspective of learners are the things that they really appreciated and the things that they didn't. So this will be also something for us to think about for the future, because it is the first time also for those trainers to do it. And as I said, some of them were really ambitious. Actually, both groups, both training pairs were really ambitious with the content and thinking about how to do it. But I would agree with you that we also need to participate more in online learning and to see how it is done from this perspective, because sometimes we don't have this idea. For example, really simple thing that online you need to really have precise and informative instruction for people, because there is no way for them to, or it is very slow way for them to ask if they didn't understand. So if you work on a training with a group, if you say something and they don't understand, somebody will ask for clarification, it will go on. But online it is really slow, so unless they are writing on forum, and then it takes time for you to answer. So you need to be really clear in communication, and you really need to also get yourself into the shoes of learner and to see if something is boring for you, then it will be probably boring for them. And those are the things that we also are thinking about. Yep. So, anybody else? Or is it time for lunch? Yes. Thank you.